Go.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Shafi bin Shukri, 265556. Today we are going to talk about predicting of loan approval using data mining. My group mate is Muhammad Nafizuddin bin Yusuf, 264119, and Muhammad Shukri bin Mat Ghani, 264358. Okay, loan is a thing that is borrowed, especially a sum of money that is expected to be paid back in with interest. Loan approval is being done by fill in the loan application form, then hand it over to the bank or lender. After that, bank or lender will check with CIBIL for credit score and credit report, and if low credit score leads to rejection of the loan. Okay, the high credit score will lead the eligibility based on the document you have submitted. Loan approval is very important to ensure that we can pursue our respective objective, whether to buy cars, house, land, and so on. Okay, the problem statement is only a few manage to get a personal loan. Personal loan have brought many benefits to individual or borrowers. However, not all applicants who want to get a personal loan are approved by the bank. So, it's become a big problem because the procedure requires a lot of manual work. Okay, by having data mining application to process identify loan approval become faster and more reliable. Maybe to evaluate the best predictive model in classify loan approval. Okay, next. Okay, the main objective of this study is to develop predictive model from the list of input variables, whether the loan is approved or not, by applying data mining techniques. To fulfill the main objective, the following sub-objective must be achieved. That is, to predict loan approval status using data mining techniques to profile characteristic of borrower, to identify important variable for predicting loan approval, and lastly, to evaluate the best predictive model in classify loan approval. Okay, next. Okay, the benefits or contribution of this research are to help prospective applicants to get personal loan approval more easily, to help people know if they are eligible for a personal loan or not, and lastly, people can know the use of data mining in applying into the personal loan approval data. Okay.
Okay, next part is literature review. So for the literature review, our group have 4 articles. So that is for the first article. For the first article, the authors is Abu Bida Jaafar Hamid and Tariq Muhammad Ahmed. So the article is focused to a new model for classifying loan risk in banking sector by using data mining. So for the method is classification algorithm, Bayes-Net algorithm, and Nash Bayes. So at the right, that is example for the Bayes-Net algorithm. I'm sorry if the picture is not clear. Okay, for the second article, the authors is Asli Khalis, Ahmed Boyachi, and Kasim Baihal. So the research, what our group research is focused on reduce the rate of risk in decision making to a minimum via analysis of existing personal loan customers and estimate potential customers' payment performance. So for this article, they use method K-means for clustering and decision tree for classification. So at the right is for the method K-mean for clustering. In clustering application, we end up performing uh, three tasks. First is separate of data sets into section within the clusters, verification of result of clustering, and interpreting the clusters. Okay, for the third article, the authors is Munal Surf, Pooja Titme, and Priya Shiden, Swati Sonawe, and Sandeep Pandit. So this article is research about identify and analyze the risk in giving loan of commercial banks. For this article, they use algorithm and decision tree for the method. So at the right is example for the decision tree method. For the last article review is the author is Dr. C. Raja Bhushanam and C. Yasvan Kumar. So for the last article is research about exploring and reviewing about the various data mining technique in the banking sector. So in this article, they use regression and kernel function for the method. So at the right, the picture is about example of the kernel functions. Okay.
Okay, for the analysis and findings, so the introduction, this chapter discuss about the analysis and findings of the status loan approval which are obtained after analyzing using Orange software using several techniques which are logistic regression and decision tree. And for the analysis and result, the data analysis is split into two, which are the analysis of decision tree and the analysis of logistic regression. Next slide. Okay. Okay, for the data description and exploration, our group using dispersion. Okay, dispersion is the degree of scatter of data, usually about an average of value such as the median. However, in orange, for categorical data, the dispersion focuses on mode, while for numerical data, it focuses on mean. Below is the dispersion table between the coefficient of variation and the entropy. So as we see in the slide, there's all the table that we can get from the orange. Okay, in information theory, the entropy of variable is the average level of information. Surprise or uncertainty inherent in the variable for possible outcomes. In probability theory and statistics, the coefficient of variation that we call as CV, also known as relative standard deviation, RSD, is a standardized measure of dispersion of a probability distribution or frequency distribution. Okay, for model analysis and evaluation, so cross-validation splits the data into 5 and 10 folds that we use in the orange software. Okay, so the algorithm is tested by holding out example from one fold at a time where the model is in use from other folds and example from the held out fold are classified. This is repeated for all the folds. Okay, for logistic regression that we use for our group, in this technique, the logistic regression has been split into two kinds, which are rich and less so. This can be adjusted in the widget logistic regression itself. So as we see at the table, we have classification accuracy. Okay, next slide. Okay, for decision tree is a simple algorithm that splits the data into nodes by class purity. It can also be used for both classification and regression tasks. The split indicates the forbidden of the algorithm to split the nodes with less than the given number of instances. So as we see at the slide, we have classification accuracy 5-fold and 10-fold. Okay, next slide. Okay, so as a conclusion, to conclude as described, CA calculates the proportion of correctly classified examples. The higher the CA shows the better result as it has higher proportion. It is evident that decision tree has the highest CA value than logistic regression based on the analysis made using all variable and observation on different kinds of false 5 and 10 that we use. With it out, the suitable method for predicting the status loan approval is decision tree, in which the lower difference in prediction and the actual status loan approval is present. It is proven there is appendix in widget data table where it indicates the final result between the actual data and the predicted ones that decision tree shows the least different compared to logistic regression. Okay, so this is our orange model that we use in the orange software. Okay, so we have tree and logistic regression. Okay, next.
Yeah. What we can see at this model, first thing what we do was inputting the data. This is to ensure that the data is clean with no missing value for us to do the analysis. Beside imputation, we have also connect the raw data with future statistic for the case of data description. This allow us to see the dispersion of all variables computing the loan status approval. After inputting the data, we have set the data into rank and goes straight into the data sampler. From data sampler, we split into two chosen techniques, which are logistic regression and decision tree. Data sampler also goes into test and score, which connected by those two techniques as well. This is to define the result based on the test on both method logistic regression as well as decision tree. And now from the test score, we have the final prediction in the data table where it compares prediction and actual data of loan status approval. However, if you want to observe specifically about logistic regression, here's the data table for logistic regression formula. Meanwhile, for decision tree, here's a tree viewer. Next, for outcomes, below is the comparison between the actual status loan approval predicting using logistic regression and decision tree. But the picture here, has shown the only 27 data. That's all from our group, and thank you.